What's going on, guys? It's your boy John the Liquidator coming back with another video. So it look like a Browns insider is putting to bed all of the rumors, all of the non-informational stuff, and letting us know the facts. Exactly what the hell the Browns is preparing to do for the 2026 season. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Cleveland. Let's get it. Let's go. And we got to jump right into this one. There has been a lot of different storylines and a lot of different things coming out the city of Cleveland. And it's been kind of hard to kind of gauge the news and break it all down because you don't know what's true, you don't know what's fake, you don't know what's a rumor, which is kind of like that all the time. But this time, it seemed like it's going a little overboard, bro. You got reporters saying that they finna get Malik Willis. You also got other reporters saying that Shedeur is going to be QB1. Now you just said Andrew Berry yesterday pretty much said Shedeur's the guy. Myles Garrett said the other day Shedeur's the guy. So if left up to me, I'm probably gonna believe Shedeur's the guy. But with that being said, man, it'd be kind of hard trusting a lot of the information that comes out. Now, somebody that we rarely ever hear from, and she's there, she got access like Mary Kay and everybody else, is Cameron Justice. So if you guys follow her online, you guys might know who she is. She be at a lot of the press conference. She asks a lot of the questions. I know a lot of people definitely follow her online. She be at the practices. So she's there. Now, she hardly ever does interviews, bro. She don't always do interviews. Cameron Justice don't. But she did one today that I want to react to, and I have not heard it all. But this is her X account right here. So obviously she's in Cleveland, so she's covering the Cavs right now, which a lot of the people in Cleveland are covering the Cavs. But y'all know why we here. You know, no disrespect to the Cavs, but we got to stand on business about Shedeur, dog. With that being said, let's listen to what she had to say.
It was Channel 5. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. You always hype me up real well. Let me thank you for that. Thank you so much.
I feel like Steve Harvey, and this is like the sports kings and queens of comedy, and I'm tasked with bringing all the big stars out. So I got to make sure that you get your proper credit, man, because you are a woman that holds it down in the city of Cleveland. All three sports, you're very vast in it, and you always are on the go and all the grind. So it's always important to give people their flowers, man, while they still above ground.
I appreciate that. You have no idea.
Thank you. So I talked about the Browns hiring Byron Storer as the new special teams coordinator. Talk a little bit about his background and what went into that decision for Todd Monken to make that his choice.
Well, I think, first of all, you want to have somebody who has experience, right? And you don't – that's a hard one to promote within. It happens sometimes, but you want somebody that has done it. And Todd Monken said that he wants an elite staff. So, you know, he's been on successful teams. He's been around the league for some time. And that's exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for a guy that has done it, and he's played. So that's to have playing experience and coaching experience. It's twofold, I think, for me. And special teams, obviously, we saw was a huge struggle for the Browns last season. And you know, you lose your special teams coordinator, was probably leaving anyway, right? It doesn't matter if he took a Rams job or not. That was just such a struggling unit. It felt like a position, a coaching position that needed to have a change regardless.
Now, she's speaking about Bubba Ventura. I think that's how you say his name. He came from Kevin Stefanski, y'all. So they're disassembling Kevin Stefanski coaching staff. You feel me? And so I know a lot of people might not know a lot of these names that Todd Monken's hiring, but it's a reason why he's hiring these guys. You know, he's almost taking the Coach Prime approach. Guys that can play, guys that know a little bit. You know, I like it, you know, because to me, it's going to all around do them well.
For Storer, I think having background, having experience will be huge for this team. It's going to make it a little bit easier, I think, for them to lay some concepts down. And a player coach always, I think, usually makes it a little bit easier because it's easier to relate. It's like Bubba Ventrone, and Bubba had success as a special teams coordinator, in Indianapolis. It's why he came here. So I think if you can get that kind of productivity, that's what you're looking for out of that unit.
Good morning, Cameron. It's James. The Browns are still looking for a defensive coordinator. Is them wanting to stick to the same system a hindrance to finding a guy maybe that's outside of the organization, or has that not been really a hurdle that they've experienced?
I mean, it certainly could be if you look at what they're trying to do, and that has to come into play, the understanding, the grasp. I asked Jerome Baker at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards, like, how hard is it to actually run this system, this scheme, if it wasn't going to be Jim Schwartz, because that was the day before he handed in his letter of resignation, but obviously it didn't feel as if he was returning. And Jerome Baker said, listen, it's hard, but it's also easy. There's the concepts are there, but we have a really good defense and we have a really good scheme, and so it's not going to be cut and paste. I think that is a true statement. I think that there could be certainly regressions if you get the wrong guy that doesn't really understand what was going on and try to operate it, because it feels simple, right? Like, crash the line, be chaotic up front, and it should work. But obviously with any coaching system and scheme, there are nuances. And I think we saw a regression, right? We saw what happens when a coaching change occurs, when Callahan left the offensive line to go coach with his son. And you bring in a new coach and Andy Dickerson at that point, and players were confident that they knew a lot of what Callahan instilled in them, so it wouldn't change that much. And we saw the offensive line regress drastically. And I think that is always a possibility. So when the Browns are looking for this defensive coordinator, yeah, it would be great to have someone who totally operates under the same exact scheme, or at least has a really good understanding of the scheme. And I think that's why you see guys like Corey Undlin getting interviewed. But then there's the internal candidates too, right? Jason Tarver and Ephraim Banda, who both obviously have been in the scheme. I think Jason Tarver in particular has a pretty solid understanding of what's going on up front, but Ephraim is a guy that has been desired. He was requested for a Jets interview. So they've got options of people who know kind of what it looks like in a Jim Schwartz defense, because that's what they want to keep without having Jim Schwartz here. But they also have other candidates externally that have a good understanding of the defense and a good understanding of football in Northeast Ohio, like a guy like Jonathan Cooley, who is from here, grew up here, played here, coached here, all these things. So, like, I think they have a good candidate pool, and it will be up to them to determine in these interviews how much of an understanding, and maybe some of the tweaks, you don't want to get too far away, but everyone's going to bring their personal flair, their personal brand to it. You just don't want to stray too much. So if they can have that basic understanding and not see the regression, because the players are, for the most part, right, the exact same players. You're going to get maybe add a couple players or two in this process of free agency and the draft, but you have your defensive core. So the pieces are there, but we've seen regression even with similar pieces. So you want to make sure that someone has a good understanding. I think they've got a good pool right now of candidates to choose from.
So staying with the theme of continuity, you mentioned Ephraim Banda and Jason Tarver. Now, Jason has been a defensive coordinator before in the NFL. Ephraim Banda has had, interviews to become a defensive coordinator this year. And I read somewhere that Ephraim was, rising in the ranks internally. Of those two guys in particular, who do you think has the edge to become the Browns' next defensive coordinator, and why?
It's a hard question, because I do think, I think there are different reasons why either one could surpass each other, right? Like, for that position with Ephraim Banda, I think that he is so well respected. He has a really, really great defensive mind, and he's really able to relate what he's trying to coach to his players well. I think that is very well respected, and you want a guy, if you're going to hire a coach, you got to have a guy that can get guys bought in, especially when you lose a Jim Schwartz who was beloved by the defense. Every player was excited to play under his scheme, and that he fired them up, and he was hands-on and tough, but still respected. So that's a hard thing to lose, and those are big shoes to fill. I think Ephraim is a guy that 100% has the respect and has the ability to relay information in a way. And, what I think would be interesting is to see how that toughness comes out, because he certainly has it in him, but he's on the quieter side, at least out there in the practice sessions that we're seeing. So I think that could come out a little bit more. Now, Jason Tarver, to me, feels like a guy that has a little bit more hands-on experience with his unit in particular when it comes to what Jim Schwartz did up front. So we know that Jim Schwartz and his defense is predicated on the defensive line being the engine, being chaotic, and whether it's blitzing or not, or just truly causing chaos up front, then the duties, the responsibilities of coverage trickle back down. So it starts up front, and then linebackers, safeties, corners, it's their job to, quote-unquote, clean up. So I think with Jason Tarver, the linebacking core being involved a lot more, obviously, in causing that chaos up front when the linebackers are sent in rather than dropping back, I think that has a better understanding maybe for him of how to cause that chaos on the front end. And so that, to me, that's his edge. So you could look at it a lot of, and Tarver he's a tough coach too. So he's very vocal and a good leader, gets guys bought in. The linebacker room is so tight knit, and you can see how they play for each other and the entire defense. So I think that they both have very good qualities. It's going to be about how they interview and how they see their fit in that. And those are conversations, right, we're not in the room for, to see how those interviews go. But I obviously, Ephraim Banda is a guy that people around the league are starting to notice too, and Jason Tarver is a guy internally that has been super well respected. So I think that you could go either way and say, oh, very strong candidate, or, oh, he's a very strong candidate. That's a non-answer, but I do think that there are qualities about both of them that give them that edge that gave them the interview opportunity in the first place.
Cam Justice joining us from WEWS Channel 5, Browns beat reporter. So do you think it would be better to go with somebody in-house, considering that you have a lot of young guys and they've already maybe built a relationship or rapport with the young guys, and that would maybe be better considering you're going to have even more younger guys on the team going forward with so many draft picks?
I don't know if it's better. I think it's certainly a solid option, and I think it could be easier. But at the end of the day, internal or external, you got to get the guy that has the strongest understanding of what you're going to be able to do, with that added aspect of filling the shoes of Jim Schwartz and getting the buy-in. So you have to have somebody who's charismatic and is a leader. But those are things that obviously so many of these guys, it's an attribute they have. That's what got them in the positions they're in. That's why they're interviewing. And if they hire them, it means they were charismatic and they showed that leadership quality. They showed that buy-in ability in the interview, because you got the front office and ownership and coaching staff and Todd Monken to buy in. You got everybody to buy in. So that's a big part of it anyway. I think internally, I think it's a lot easier to buy into somebody that you respect and you've worked with for multiple seasons, which is the case with Tarver and Banda. But I also think that if you get guys in here and these external candidates, and right now I do think the pool is, they've got a very strong pool. You've got Aubrey Pleasant in the mix as well. If these are candidates that you can pitch to your players as, look at this experience, look at the success rate they had, look at what they bring to you, and we're not changing the scheme. This is how we are going to keep the scheme. This is how they understand it. I don't think it's impossible to do that. And so with the pool they've got and the internal candidates, I think they're in a place where, okay, there's a clear level of how they can get the guys bought in. It's just what they're going to be able to say to them.
So that was Cameron Justice giving us a little insight in the process that the Browns is doing for us finding this new defensive coordinator. But something I'm liking about her style is that she's clearing up a lot of rumors. She's coming with facts. She don't sound like she's over hyping or overdoing too much. She's just speaking on what she know. I rock with her, bro. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Make sure you guys keep them bills on. I will be back with another video. And until next time, man, shake the haters off. I'm out of here, bro. Peace.